I stood in the driveway watching Marcus load the last box into his car. 3 years of marriage reduced to cardboard and tape. "You deserve someone better," he said without looking at me. Better. That word tasted like poison. What he really meant was that he'd found someone better. Her name was Brianna, and she was everything I apparently wasn't. Younger, thinner, childless. The neighbors pretended not to watch from behind their curtains. Mrs. Peterson next door actually waved at Marcus like this was a normal Tuesday afternoon. "Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had your heart ripped out in broad daylight. Because what happened next changed everything." Marcus slammed his trunk and finally looked at me. "The papers are on the kitchen table. Sign them." Then he drove away toward his shiny new life with Brianna, leaving me standing there like yesterday's garbage. Let me back up 6 months. That's when everything started falling apart, though I was too blind to see it. Marcus began working late every night. His phone suddenly had a password. He stopped touching me like he used to. When I asked what was wrong, he'd say I was being paranoid and controlling. Classic gaslighting, though I didn't recognize it then. We'd been trying for a baby for 18 months. Every negative pregnancy test felt like failure. Marcus would sigh and say maybe we should take a break from trying. Looking back, he was already planning his exit. The final blow came 3 weeks ago when I found receipts for jewelry I never received, dinner reservations at restaurants we never visited, hotel charges from business trips that seemed too frequent. When I confronted him, Marcus didn't even deny it. He just said he'd fallen in love with someone who made him happy. Apparently, I'd stopped doing that. The divorce papers sat on my kitchen table mocking me. Marcus wanted everything split 50-50, which sounded fair until I realized we had nothing worth splitting. Our rental house, our modest savings, our basic furniture. I'd sacrificed my career to support his business dreams. Now I had no job, no money, and no future. My mother died when I was 16, and my father passed 2 years ago. No siblings to call for help. Marcus always said we didn't need anyone else, that we were enough for each other. Another lie to keep me isolated. I made coffee and tried to figure out my next move. My bank account had $300. Rent was due in 2 weeks. I needed a job immediately, but who'd hire someone who hadn't worked in 3 years? That's when I remembered the storage unit. Dad's things had been sitting there untouched since his funeral. The storage facility smelled like dust and regret. Unit 42 contained everything from my father's apartment. Boxes of old clothes, photo albums, his collection of vintage records. I'd avoided dealing with it because sorting through a dead parent's belongings feels like admitting they're really gone. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Maybe I could sell something valuable. I started opening boxes randomly, finding nothing but memories and moth-eaten sweaters. Then I spotted the safe in the back corner, covered by an old blanket. Heavy, black with a digital keypad. I'd never seen it before. Dad always lived simply, drove an old truck, clipped coupons religiously. Why would he need a safe? I tried his birthday as the code. Nothing, my birthday. Nothing. Then I remembered the number he always said was lucky, the date he met my mother. 4/12/79. The safe clicked open. Inside were things that made no sense. Stacks of documents in manila folders. Property deeds for addresses I didn't recognize. Stock certificates from companies like Apple and Amazon, dated from the 1980s. And a handwritten letter addressed to me in Dad's shaky handwriting. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. "My dearest daughter," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone and you need help. I lived simply because I never wanted money to define our relationship." But I wasn't poor. I made smart investments young and acquired properties around town that generate steady income. Everything is yours now. The combination to my safety deposit box at First Union Bank is your mother's full maiden name, all lowercase, no spaces. Inside, you'll find account information and legal documents. Use this wisely. Build a life where you never have to compromise yourself for survival. You deserve better than settling. Love always, Dad. I read the letter 5 times before the words actually registered. Dad had money, real money, hidden money, properties and investments he'd never mentioned. My father, who worried about grocery bills and refused to buy a new truck, had been secretly wealthy. Why hadn't he told me? The letter explained that too. He wanted me to build my own life first, to learn my own strength. Only in genuine need would I discover this safety net. Well, I was definitely in genuine need now. I drove straight to First Union Bank, which was closing in 20 minutes. The safety deposit box clerk looked skeptical when I requested access, but my identification matched the account. She led me to a private room and left me alone with a metal box that would change everything. Inside were more documents, account statements, and a USB drive labeled "Read Me First." Have you ever discovered something that completely shifted your entire reality? Drop a comment below. I opened the first account statement and nearly fainted. Checking account balance, $214,000. Investment portfolio value, $18,600,000. Rental property equity, $12 million. Total liquid assets, $31 million, $31 million. I checked the name 3 times to make sure this was really my father's account. My dad, who drove a 15-year-old pickup and bought day-old bread. The USB drive contained a video file. I borrowed the bank's computer and pressed play. Dad's face filled the screen, looking tired but smiling. "Hello, sweetheart. If you're watching this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you about the money while I was alive. I grew up poor and never wanted wealth to change our relationship or make you dependent. I bought apartment buildings in our town when property was cheap. I invested early in technology companies. Everything grew beyond my wildest dreams." Dad's video continued. "The money is completely yours. No taxes owed, everything's in your name through a trust established at your birth. I've included contact information for my attorney, Thomas Wright, who manages everything. He's expecting you. Use this money to build the life you deserve. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. Trust yourself." The video ended with him blowing a kiss at the camera. I sat in that small bank room crying for 20 minutes. My father had given me freedom I didn't even know I needed. Marcus thought he'd left me with nothing. He had no idea I just inherited enough money to buy his entire world 10 times over. The irony was delicious, but I couldn't tell anyone yet. I needed a plan. First step was meeting this attorney, Thomas Wright, and understanding exactly what I now owned. Second step was making Marcus regret every cruel word he'd ever said to me. Thomas Wright's office occupied the top floor of our town's nicest building. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture, and artwork that probably cost more than most people's houses. He greeted me warmly like he'd known me for years. "Your father spoke about you constantly," Thomas said, pouring expensive coffee into delicate cups. "He was so proud of you. I'm glad you found the safe." I explained my situation. The divorce, Marcus's betrayal, my current financial desperation. Thomas listened carefully, taking notes. "How much does your husband know about your father's estate?" he asked. "Nothing. Dad died 2 years ago. Marcus came to the funeral but never asked about inheritance. He assumed Dad had nothing worth leaving." Thomas smiled in a way that made me think he enjoyed complicated situations. "Perfect. Let's keep it that way. Virginia is an equitable distribution state, meaning marital assets get divided fairly in divorce. But inheritance received during marriage is separate property." "So Marcus has no claim to any of this?" I asked, hardly believing my luck. "None whatsoever. As long as you kept the inheritance separate from marital accounts, which you obviously did since you just discovered it, the money is entirely yours." Thomas pulled up documents on his computer. "You currently own 6 apartment buildings generating $42,000 monthly in rental income. Your investment portfolio is diversified across multiple sectors." Your father was remarkably financially savvy. I felt dizzy from information overload. What should I do first? First, we establish your immediate financial security. I'll transfer operating funds to a new personal account in your name only. Second, we file a response to your divorce petition making clear you're seeking no support and claiming no marital assets. This prevents Marcus from digging into your finances. Third, we let him finish his new life while you build yours. I liked Thomas's strategic thinking. What about revenge? Can I make his life difficult? Thomas raised an eyebrow. "Revenge isn't usually my specialty, but I'm not opposed to justice. What did you have in mind?" I thought about Marcus's smug face as he drove away with Brianna, his casual cruelty over the past months, the way he'd made me feel worthless. His business is struggling. He took out loans to expand his consulting firm. What if those loans suddenly got called in? Thomas typed something into his computer. "Interesting. Who holds his business debt?" "First Commercial Bank. They refinanced last year." More typing, then Thomas smiled. "Your father's trust owns a significant stake in First Commercial Bank. We sit on their board. I can't directly influence lending decisions, but I can ensure they review all outstanding loans for risk assessment. If Marcus's business isn't performing well, that review might not go favorably. The possibilities were endless. I was starting to understand how money translated to power. Do it. I want him audited. Over the next 2 weeks, I transformed my entire life. Thomas helped me rent a beautiful house in the nicest part of town. Nothing too flashy, but comfortable and completely mine. I bought new furniture, new clothes, invested in myself for the first time in years. The best part was signing Marcus's divorce papers without changing a single word. I wanted nothing from him, which probably confused him, but he signed too. We were officially divorced within a month since we had no assets to fight over. Or so he thought. Marcus had no idea his ex-wife now had more money than he'd earn in 10 lifetimes. I started volunteer work at the women's shelter, helping other women escape bad situations. It felt good to use my experience for something positive. Then I got a call from Thomas. Marcus's business loan got reviewed. The bank found irregularities in his financial statements. They're demanding immediate repayment of $300,000. What happens if he can't pay? I asked, trying not to sound too eager. The bank will seize his business assets and potentially force bankruptcy. His credit will be destroyed. Thomas paused. Are you sure you want this? It's quite harsh. I thought about all the times Marcus made me feel small, the ways he controlled our money and criticized my spending, how he blamed me for our fertility issues when he refused to get tested. I'm absolutely sure. 3 days later, Marcus called me for the first time since the divorce. The bank is destroying me, he said, his voice desperate. They're calling my loans. I'm going to lose everything. Brianna left when she found out I'm broke. I didn't feel the satisfaction I expected, just emptiness. That's unfortunate, Marcus. Can you help me? Maybe your father left you something. I heard you moved to a nice house. So that's why he called. He thought I had money and wanted to use me again. My father left me enough to get by, I said carefully, but nothing extra to bail out ex-husbands who cheated and abandoned me. Please, I'm desperate. I'll lose my business, my reputation, everything. The irony was perfect. Marcus had thrown me away when he thought I was worthless. Now he came crawling back when he needed rescue. You told me I never accomplished anything on my own, I said quietly. You said I was the reason we couldn't have kids. You made me feel defective and broken for 2 years. Then you left me for someone younger and threw me away like garbage. Why would I help you? Silence on the other end. Then Marcus said something that surprised me. You're right. I was horrible to you. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I truly am sorry. An apology I'd waited years to hear, and now it meant nothing. Goodbye, Marcus. I hope you figure things out. 6 months after my divorce, my life looked completely different. I'd enrolled in business classes at the community college, learning to manage my own investments. Thomas introduced me to other wealthy families in town, expanding my social circle beyond Marcus's limited friends. I even started dating again, though casually. Nothing serious because I was still healing from betrayal. Then I met Dr. Patrick Chen at a charity fundraiser. He was a surgeon at the regional hospital, intelligent and kind, with gentle eyes that actually listened when you spoke. We talked for hours about everything except money or status. When he asked me to dinner, I almost said no. I wasn't ready, but something about Patrick felt different. Safe, our first date was simple, just coffee and conversation. He made me laugh, really laugh, for the first time in months. You have an interesting way of seeing the world, Patrick said. Like you've been through something hard but came out stronger. Divorced recently, I admitted. My ex left me for someone else. Patrick nodded thoughtfully. His loss, obviously, though I suppose I should thank him for being stupid enough to let you go. We dated slowly over the next few months. Patrick never pushed for more than I was ready to give. He respected my boundaries and actually cared about my opinions. The contrast to Marcus was staggering. When I finally told Patrick about my inheritance, he was the first person I'd told besides Thomas. I needed to see how he'd react. That must have been overwhelming, Patrick said. Discovering your father had been wealthy all along. You're not impressed by the money? I asked, testing him. I'm impressed that you're using it wisely instead of letting it change who you are. Money reveals character, it doesn't create it. That night, I knew I was falling in love with Patrick. Real love, not the desperate attachment I'd felt with Marcus. Meanwhile, Thomas kept me updated on Marcus's situation. His business filed for bankruptcy, Thomas reported. Brianna not only left him, she's suing for expensive gifts she claims he promised her. What about Marcus personally? I asked, not sure why I still cared. Moved back in with his mother, working as a consultant for someone else's firm, essentially starting over. Part of me felt guilty for contributing to his downfall. The other part remembered every cruel comment every time he made me feel worthless. Should I feel bad about this? I asked Patrick later that night. We were having dinner at his place, just the two of us. Do you? He asked gently. I don't know. Marcus was terrible to me, but watching someone lose everything is hard. Patrick set down his fork. Here's what I know. You didn't cause his business problems. You didn't make him lie on loan applications or manage money poorly. You simply allowed natural consequences to occur without rescuing him. That's not revenge, that's boundaries. His words made sense. I hadn't destroyed Marcus. I just refused to save him from his own choices. There's a difference. A year after my divorce, I was living a life I never imagined possible. Patrick and I were serious, talking about moving in together. I'd started a nonprofit helping women escape financial abuse, using my own story to inspire others. My relationship with money had evolved from fear to confidence. I understood now that wealth was a tool, not an identity. Then Marcus showed up at my office unannounced. He looked different. Older, tired, humbled. I'm not here to ask for money, he said immediately. I know I have no right to ask anything from you. Then why are you here? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. To apologize properly. The last time we talked, I said sorry, but I didn't really mean it. I was just desperate. Now I understand what I did to you. He sat down across from my desk. I've been in therapy, addressing why I treated you so badly. My therapist says I have narcissistic patterns, that I blamed you for my own inadequacies. Marcus continued. The fertility issues were probably mine. I was too scared and proud to get tested, so I made it your fault. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for the emotional abuse, for making you feel broken when you were never the problem. You deserved so much better. I stared at this man I'd once loved, trying to feel something. Anger, satisfaction, anything. Instead, I just felt distant. Thank you for saying that, I said finally. I appreciate the apology. I heard you're with someone new, a doctor, and that you started a nonprofit. Marcus smiled sadly. You're thriving, which makes me happy and ashamed at the same time. Happy because you deserve success, ashamed because I tried to prevent it. You didn't prevent it, you delayed it. I paused. Is there anything else? Just that I hope someday you can forgive me. Not for my sake, but for yours. Carrying anger is exhausting. After Marcus left, I sat thinking about forgiveness. Did I forgive him? Maybe partially. That night Patrick proposed. Nothing fancy, just the two of us in his living room after dinner. I love who you are, he said, holding my hands. Your strength, your kindness, your ability to grow from pain instead of becoming bitter. Will you marry me? I said yes without hesitation. This time felt completely different. Patrick knew everything about me, including my money, and loved me anyway. We planned a small wedding, just close friends and family. My nonprofit work had become my passion. We'd helped 32 women escape financially abusive situations in our first year. Each success felt like reclaiming part of myself that Marcus had tried to destroy. Thomas managed my investments brilliantly. The portfolio had grown to $38 million, more money than I'd ever spend, which meant I could give more away. I established scholarships for women returning to college after divorce, funded domestic violence shelters, invested in female-owned businesses. Money became a tool for creating change, instead of just accumulating more wealth. 2 years after my divorce, Patrick and I got married in a simple ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. Nothing fancy or expensive, just genuine celebration with people who actually cared about us. I thought about my first wedding to Marcus, which had been all about impressing his colleagues and looking successful. This wedding was about love, actual love between equals. During our honeymoon in Italy, I got an unexpected email. Marcus had written to say congratulations on my marriage. I saw the photos online, he wrote. You look genuinely happy. I'm glad you found someone who treats you the way I should have. I'm dating someone new myself, someone kind who calls me on my nonsense. I'm learning to be better. Thank you for not destroying me completely when you had the power to. I know now that you could have made things much worse. Your restraint taught me more than revenge would have. I showed Patrick the email. Are you going to respond? He asked. I don't think so, I said. Marcus and I are done. I wish him well, but I don't need to engage. Patrick kissed my forehead. I love that you found peace instead of staying angry. I'm not completely peaceful, I admitted. Sometimes I'm still mad about the years I wasted with him, but mostly I'm grateful. If Marcus hadn't left me, I never would have opened Dad's safe. I'd still be trapped in that small, controlled life. Everything happened exactly when it was supposed to, Patrick said. When we returned from Italy, I discovered I was pregnant. Natural conception without any medical intervention. After years of Marcus blaming me for our infertility, my body had simply needed the right circumstances. Less stress, more support, actual love. The irony was perfect. I'd spent years thinking I was broken, and I wasn't. I was just in the wrong environment to thrive. Like trying to grow flowers in toxic soil and wondering why they wouldn't bloom. My pregnancy was smooth and healthy. Patrick was excited, supportive, everything Marcus hadn't been. We prepared the nursery together, took birthing classes, read parenting books. This was the family I'd always wanted, just with a completely different partner than I'd imagined. 8 months pregnant, I ran into Brianna at the grocery store. She looked embarrassed when she saw me, like she wanted to run away. Instead, she approached me cautiously. "I owe you an apology," Brianna said quietly. "I knew Marcus was married when we got involved. I told myself you two were unhappy anyway, that I was doing everyone a favor, but breaking up a marriage is never acceptable." I looked at this woman who'd once been my enemy. She seemed young and foolish rather than malicious. "Thank you for saying that," I said. "Though honestly, you probably did me a favor. Marcus and I were toxic together. Leaving freed both of us to become better people." Brianna nodded. "He talks about you sometimes. Says you were the one who got away, that he didn't appreciate what he had." "Marcus rewrites history to make himself feel better," I said without bitterness. "The truth is we were wrong for each other. I hope he's learned and grown. I have." After Brianna walked away, I realized I genuinely meant what I'd said. I didn't hate her or Marcus anymore. They were just people who'd been part of my journey to something better. My daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in late spring. Perfect and healthy, with Patrick's dark hair and my green eyes. We named her after my mother. Holding her, I thought about everything that had led to this moment. My father's secret wealth that gave me freedom. Marcus's betrayal that forced me to discover my own strength. Patrick's love that showed me what healthy partnership looked like. All of it necessary to create this perfect life I was now living. 5 years after Marcus left me standing in that driveway, my life was unrecognizable. Patrick and I had 2 children now, a daughter and a son. My nonprofit had expanded to 3 states, helping hundreds of women annually. Thomas still managed my investments, which had grown to $42 million, more than I'd ever need, which meant more I could give away. I saw Marcus occasionally around town. He'd rebuilt his consulting business slowly, learned humility, apparently become a decent person. We'd nod politely when our paths crossed, but we were strangers now. Ancient history. Sometimes I thought about that moment in the storage unit when I opened Dad's safe. How one discovery changed everything. Not just the money, but the knowledge that my father had believed in me enough to leave me tools for building the life I deserved. If you're struggling today, if someone has made you feel worthless or broken, remember this. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing in disguise. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to find what you actually need. Subscribe and share this story with someone who needs to hear they're stronger than they know. Because everyone deserves a life where they don't have to settle for less than their worth. And sometimes, just sometimes, the woman who gets thrown away ends up living better than she ever imagined possible. Not because of money, though that helps, but because she finally learned the difference between being wanted and being valued. Marcus wanted to own me. Patrick values who I am. That makes all the difference in the world.